Hi friends, welcome to Raising Lifelong Learners. I'm your host, Colleen Kessler, and this is the podcast where I encourage you to trust yourself and your differently wired kiddos as you help cultivate their curiosity, encourage them to discover the world around them, embrace who they are wired to be, all while helping them discover their passions, interests, and raise them to become the amazing adults they're meant to be. Hey, welcome back. This is episode 274. Today we are talking all about leadership and its role in our homeschool. I know you're going to love this episode, but I want to first give out a special thanks and shout out to CTC Math for all of the support that they have given us over the years. I really appreciate them, and I can't wait for you to check them out. You'll learn a little bit more about them later on in this episode. But in the meantime, pop those earbuds in and let's get on with today's episode. Hey there, welcome back. This is episode 274, and I'm so excited about this one because it is a topic that we don't talk about a lot, and I think it's really important. Have you ever looked at your outside the box, kind of quirky, curious kiddo and thought, oh my gosh, this one is going places? But how do I help them grow? How do I help them become the confident, capable leader they're meant to be? If you've ever thought that, you're totally in the right place this week. We are talking all about leadership. Not the stand up in front of a group and get them rallied to go do something kind of leadership. We're talking about the kind that's rooted in creativity, kindness, confidence, and the courage to try things again and again. We're going to talk about why it matters, how to nurture it in your homeschool and in your kiddos, and we'll share some really fun ways to bring leadership to life in your home. I'm excited about this topic in particular because this coming month, we are talking all about leadership in the Learners Lab. Every month, we focus on a theme, and based around that theme, it's usually some kind of social and emotional or executive function skill or critical or creative thinking skill. All around that theme, we design activities for the whole family. We have masterclasses and Q&As for parents, and those will be focused on the theme of leadership this month. We have an EQ quest, which is all about that EQ, that emotional intelligence. And the quest will center around activities for the whole family that will be taught to kids so that you can all dive into activities that will foster and hone that sense of leadership within your home and your homeschool. And I challenge the kids to do as many of the activities as they can with their family, and then they can fill out a form and I will send them a badge that shows that they completed that quest and learned all about leadership so that you can do as a family as many or as few of the activities as you're able to that month, and you can still earn the badge. It's really a cornerstone to the community because these skills transcend content areas. You can use leadership skills, and in the past we've talked about other skills like managing worry and anxiety, organizational skills, getting started skills. You can use those in all areas of the curriculum and life, and so they're crucial for all kids to learn, but they're really imperative for neurodivergent families to focus on and learn. And so we'll focus on that this month, and then we'll do a creativity activity like a creative thinking lab where the kids can dive deeply into the creative thinking aspect of leadership and talk about it. And then we'll have our regular activities, our doodling club and our Lego club and our meetups, so we can talk further about that or just other things that the kids are interested in. But this month is all about leadership. So I figured it'd be a great time to talk about it on the podcast too. So you get a taste of how to incorporate leadership skills within your homeschool. But why does it even matter? Leadership skills are more than just about being in charge. Leadership skills help cultivate problem-solving skills. They help our kids develop listening skills. They help them adapt to change and to roll with whatever's happening in the world and make change for positive. It also helps them lead and be empathetic. They can lead with empathy, they can listen with empathy, and then they can just be empathetic towards others. This is especially important for neurodivergent kids because it helps them find their voice and their confidence in a way that feels like themselves and is truly authentic. It also helps our kids really put themselves in other people's shoes, especially when that's hard for them. We have a lot of rigid thinkers, right, in our community, and that's normal when it comes to neurodivergence. But it's still important for our kids to try to figure out ways to think about what others might be going through too, so that they can be better community members. There's also an overlap between leadership skills and executive function skills, the skills that help our kids and ourselves manage all of the other stuff. I'll link to some podcast episodes and articles about executive function in the show notes for this episode, so you can go learn more about those and then piece together how they overlap. But they're also integral to communication skills and emotional regulation and collaboration. A really good leader collaborates. A great leader listens to others, empathizes with them, communicates clearly, can regulate their own emotions so they're not reacting off the cuff. They're really taking a second and thinking and pausing before they act. It's super important for our kids to really learn how to do that because it helps them in all the different areas. We're working on the skills in our homeschool to be good listeners and to think about what others are feeling so that we can take breaks and really hone in on what matters most. We're in the process right now, as I'm recording this, of figuring out which of some really great options for college my daughter is going to choose for next year. And so we're weighing all of the different opportunities and costs and compatibility issues and training that she would get at the different schools for the different price tags based on the different people that she's exposed to at the different campuses, so that she can make the best decision possible and she can go into a community and a program where she can really find her footing and be a leader and make the most of her training. Kids learn leadership skills best when they're given space to explore, when they can imagine what their future could look like, and when they're able to try things out. It's important to remember as parents, especially homeschooling parents who, like me, want to make sure that our kids have the best of everything, that we give them the opportunities, but then we also give them space to make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, pick themselves up, and try again. We want our kids to explore possibilities, to imagine what their life could be or what potentials might become based on whatever it is they're interested in or working on, and then give them the chance to find themselves within that. We also need to help our kids understand how to hear themselves amidst the noise. I know that this has been a problem for people in our family from time to time, including myself. It's easy to have an idea of what you want. And then when you go to friends and family and ask their opinions, it's easy to then lose yourself in those outside opinions and forget what you valued in the first place. And so we want our kids to know how to explore and imagine, but also to try different things out without being married to one specific outcome. And this, in turn, is really what's going to set them apart as leaders, because they're not going to be afraid to try a couple different scenarios or imagine what different things could look like, and then put themselves in different positions that could potentially be beneficial for them. This, in turn, helps to cultivate more creative thinking. And creative thinking helps our kids see multiple solutions to problems. It allows them to approach conflict with curiosity, handle mistakes with flexibility, bounce back, pull out that resilience so they can bounce back from setbacks and try again. Homeschool is the perfect scenario for cultivating this. When we are homeschooling our kids, we give them the space to experiment, try new things without the pressure of a bunch of outside people looking in on them. We give them the chance to fail in the safest environment possible, their home. We give them a chance to be surrounded by people who have their best interests at heart, And then we give them the courage to try it again and again. Creative leadership doesn't mean being loud. It doesn't mean being extroverted. It can mean those things. Some of our best leaders are loud, can be heard above the crowd, are extroverted, can put themselves in numerous places at once. But some of our best and most creative leaders can also be those quiet, empathetic thinkers who are in the background pushing others to become the best versions of themselves. Really good and creative leaders often lead from kindness and empathy. Let's talk about some of the ways that we can encourage our kids to be these creative and empathetic learners at home. A simple thing we could do, some simple, practical, day-to-day things that we could do to help our kids learn how to lead in a safe way that gives them autonomy and a chance to take the reins for certain situations. We could have our kids plan a field trip, plan a day, plan a class that they want to take or do or study, or a topic they want to learn about. And give them the reins, give them a budget, give them a distance that we could go. Let's say we're letting them plan a field trip. Help them, show them how and where they can go for the research. Tell them the budget that you have and the budget and what the budget needs to cover. Does it need to cover gas and food and the admission, possibly souvenirs or experiences while there? Or does it just need to cover the time you're actually there, the food and the experiences, and you'll cover the gas? Does it need to be within a certain radius of home? Where can you go? Who can come? What are the age groups that need to be incorporated? Give them the information, let them plan it, and then go try it out. Hey there. Okay, you've heard me talk about CTC Math for a long time, and I've been sharing testimonials from other people about it, but I want to share my own right now because it's been a while since I've talked about how we're using CTC Math. CTC is an amazing sponsor. They support our work here at the podcast. They actually sponsor a lot of different homeschool businesses and magazines and events because they're so committed to making sure that the homeschool resources you have at your fingertips are available to you, that you have access to what you need when you need it. I love CTC Math for that part of who they are, but I also love CTC Math as a customer. I have been a paying customer for years and years. My kids are using it in very different ways, and this is what I want to talk about. I've talked before about its adaptability, but let's talk about this. I'm 16 years into homeschooling. This is my 16th year, and our kids are using it very differently. I've got one kiddo who's very advanced in math. That kiddo is a grade level and a half ahead, and I have their level set to mastery at 90%, meaning they have to get 90% or above to move on to the next set of math problems because that child doesn't have to speed through it. They're already a year and a half ahead. And so I want them, if they're going to continue to accelerate, I want them to accelerate with deep understanding. My other kiddo who's currently using it is right on grade level, maybe a couple lessons behind. And so that kiddo's mastery is set at 80% because I don't need that kiddo to understand every single section and get every single problem right. I need that kiddo to understand the big picture of the concepts, get at least a B's level of work done so that they can move on to the next level, because that particular kiddo is probably not going into a mathy career, but they need the basic understanding. CTC allows the flexibility to do that. If you've got a kiddo, say in late elementary school, who is absolutely brilliant in math and can skip ahead to some high school level math, your subscription includes all the way up to calculus. You don't have to wait. You don't have to buy multiple levels of programs. If you've got a kiddo who you hit a snag and you realize, oh my gosh, we missed that section when we were learning third grade math and now we've got to go back to do it. You don't have to go out and buy a third grade math workbook. You just go to the section in the third grade math program level and have your kiddo do that. How flexible is that? You have every level from kindergarten all the way to calculus at your fingertips for a very affordable price. Check out ctcmath.com. If you go over to the show notes and you click on the link, it will give you whatever the current discount or special they're offering Raising Lifelong Learners listeners. and you can check that out and take advantage of that. I so appreciate CTC. I know you're going to love it. And if you don't, they have a money-back guarantee. So you really do have nothing to lose. If you have any questions about CTC, you can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer those questions. All right, let's get back to today's episode. You can also assign rotating roles, like discussion leader, project manager, or the captain of the chores, where they get to divvy up the chores and let everybody know what they're doing. Let your kids take on roles that are going to help them lead within the family so they know what it's like to run a household. So many of you have talked to me over the years about how you feel like you're doing all of these things, especially if you're a mom like I am, who's homeschooling and working. It often feels like you're wearing so many hats that you're just burnt out. You have to do all of your own work and all of the homeschooling and all of the just regular everyday parenting, and then all of the stuff around the house. Help your kids help you by teaching them what it takes to run a household. And let one of them be in charge of dividing up the roles in an equitable way so they know how to be equitable in their own home when they're fathers or mothers. Maybe create a project that encourages teamwork and decision making amongst your kids, or a group perhaps at your homeschool co-op if you belong to a homeschool co-op. Invite your kiddos to solve a family challenge. How can we make chore time more fun? How can we fit in all the different things that we need to do? How can we make laundry more manageable? How can we make dishes more manageable? How can we divide up the chores so everybody's doing an equal share according to their age or their stage and ability? Get them to help you figure out what needs to be done at home so that they can find their own leadership within the home. A friend once embraced this idea and let her kiddos plan their entire science week. They did science weekly, and it didn't matter if, depending on the topic, sometimes they took a day or two, sometimes they took multiple days. And she suggested that their kiddo plan a science week around bugs. Her kiddo researched, led some experiments and activities, and then made an observation journal that her siblings all mimicked and participated in. It was a little bit messy. She said to me later that it was a bit chaotic. There were more experiments and hands-on activities, which led to more messes than she expected. But the confidence boost that kiddo had and the ownership that she took of her own learning and her siblings' learning was so worth it, and has empowered her to learn more about sciences in general and to see herself as a scientist. Some different things that we could do also as a family to build leadership skills. We used to do this when my kids were younger. And in fact, my husband and I did it when we were first married and didn't have kids. It's gotten a little bit more complicated as our kids have gotten older and have lots of activities that pull them out of the house. But we used to hold a weekly family meeting. And when it was my husband and I, we would go to a coffee shop after church on Sundays, and we would compare our calendars for the week, make a plan, have like brunch together, and then get started on our week. As our kids got older, or when they were young, they would participate more and more. And as they got a little bit older and were still doing the family meetings, they would rotate who was in charge of it. And that person who was ever in charge would plan an activity. And then we would come together to talk about our plans for the week and the things that we needed throughout that week. Now, as the kids are older, I just have a calendar. I have a calendar behind me on the wall in my office. And then I also have a calendar on the one behind me on my wall in the office, there's 12 months set out, and they're whiteboards. So once I get through the first quarter of the year, I erase that and I put next year's first quarter in there. So I always have a year running at a glance. And then in the kitchen, I have a whiteboard eraser, a whiteboard calendar that I update every month with our color-coded kids, so we know whose activity is what and when they need to be. So that's one way we've established leadership in our home. And then the autonomy of figuring out where you need to be, when you need to be there, who needs to take you, how you need to arrange that. And then if you can plan other things because nobody has anything and there's a ride available for you. You could also, as a family, have your kids help you or do themselves and you work with them to design a service project. There are lots of organizations that would love to have families volunteer. There are food banks, there are shelters, there are church groups, there are neighborhood cleanup groups. Our city has a maple festival every April, and there are opportunities to volunteer in the city square in the different booths that the city runs, the Chamber of Commerce runs. So there's lots of different things that you could do as a family if you're creative to design a service project. You could even design one within your home or your co-op where you're collecting maybe coats before the winter for kids, or summer activities, or non-perishable foods for something, and you can work on that as a family or as a co-op. You could also help your kids journal about their leadership skills and what kinds of things they want to work on, and then maybe keep a running record of things that they do that demonstrate leadership, or you could have a leadership board in your home where you're posting the different things that kids are doing to show leadership. Even if it's just as simple as, I helped my baby sister plunk out Row, Row Your Boat on the piano, leading by example and helping their siblings figure out something that they want to figure out to feel bigger or more autonomous. Those are all things that you can do to help your kiddos discover ways of being more like the leaders that we want them to be as they grow. When you're struggling to find ways to do this, if it feels big to create a project or start family meetings or have your kids create or plan a field trip, you can start simple. You can read books about strong leaders during your read aloud time. You can watch movies about leaders. You can do unit studies that center around people who have done great things. We have some unit studies on the website based on stories like the American Girl stories, movie studies where they focus on a main character who did something to lead people around them. We have a unit study based on the movie Hidden Figures and other movies like that and books. So you can use movies, you can use books, you can use games, especially games that are collaborative, because oftentimes somebody rises to the organizational point to help each other succeed in the game. And then you can use storytelling. Tell your kids about things that you did when you were young. Help them see how you were a leader when you were little. I want you to remember, though, with all of this kind of stuff, start small. Leadership is built into everyday interactions, not big grand gestures all the time. Just the little acts of talking to your kids and pointing out the things that they do that are successful in encouraging and empathizing with others and leading others and leading by example. Those all have ripple effects that can lead to greater leadership skills as our kids grow. Remember that leadership looks different for every single child. Some kids are quiet leaders who are nurturing and empathetic and work to lead others to their potential. And then still others of our children are those leaders who are in front of you, driving the way, showing the way, helping people get to the greater good. Neither is better or worse than the other. They are just different forms of leadership. And we want to encourage our kids to be the people that they're meant to be and embrace the characteristics that they have that make them unique and great. If your kiddo's asking questions, if they're solving problems, if they're showing empathy, they're already leading. It's just a matter of you finding those little sparks and then fanning them into the flames that can lead further and further. You don't need a structured curriculum for that. That's the beauty of a place like the Learner's Lab. It's not a structured curriculum, and it's not something extra. It's just something that can enhance the things that you're already doing so you and your family are aware of all of those soft skills, all of those social, emotional, creative, critical thinking skills that help your kids and you be better human beings, be better people, and be the people who meet and exceed their potential. And it's about noticing and doing more. You just need that intention, that little spark, the trust in the space to grow. And we have those resources. In fact, we have 4 years of archives full of past activities and themes and lessons that we've done that you can pull from. So this month, like I said, we're talking all about leadership, but there's dozens and dozens of themes you can pull from if you want other skills to be emphasized in your home. So join us if you're looking for support in those areas. But if you want to do this on your own, it's just small, simple steps. You can do it. You can absolutely cultivate leaders in your home. All you need to do is help them see who they are and how great that person is, and encourage them to continue growing towards the strong, confident, empathetic people that they're meant to be. Over on the show notes for this episode, I'm going to have links to leadership resources, to executive function skill and creative and critical thinking skill resources, as well as a printable PDF that talks about different skills and has reflection questions that you can work on with your kids if you're looking for something to help them hone their leadership skills. It's a simple free download. You just put your email address in and it'll be mailed to you. But it will help you guide that discussion if you're not a member of the Learners Lab. If you are a member of the Learners Lab, it's already going to be in the Learners Lab for you next month with the EQ Challenge, along with dozens of other activities that you can try with your kids to help hone their leadership skills. So it's going to be a great month. And I'd love to have any of you in there. And then if you're already in there, I'd love to hear what you're most excited about. Head over to the show notes for this episode and download that PDF. Check out the other resources. Let us know what your favorite part of this episode, what your favorite idea was, and then use the contact form while you're letting us know what those great nuggets that you got out of this episode were. And let me know too what other topics you want to hear about on the podcast. What kinds of things can we help you within your homeschool and within your raising of neurodivergent, gifted, twice exceptional, and quirky kids, so that you and your homeschool can thrive? I'd love to hear about it because I want to make this the best resource possible for you. Also, if you have a moment, I would be just so honored if you would go and leave a rating or review on Apple Podcasts. Share these posts and episodes with your friends and other homeschoolers or people you know who are homeschooling or parenting even neurodivergent kiddos, because the more you share, the more the podcast gets discovered and the more people we can help. So I really appreciate all of your support. Special thanks to CTC Math for all of their support in sponsoring this podcast year after year. I truly think that they are the best and easiest to use math curriculum out there. So if you're looking for an affordable program for your whole family that is flexible, you need to check out ctcmath.com. A link for that is also over on the show notes. Okay, we'll be back same time, same place next week with another episode. In the meantime, love on your kids. Enjoy them. Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.